Okay, so here's 5 things you need to know about Houston quarterback D'Eriq King, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider it in the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today we need to talk about D'Eriq King and 5 things I think you need to know about him, starting with his recruitment coming out of Manvel in Texas. This guy was a 5'9", 170 pound dual threat quarterback, the kind of quarterback that nobody really knew what to do with, except that they knew that he could score all the touchdowns. He passed for over 7,400 yards, rushed for over 2,800 yards, and put together 137 touchdowns in his prep career. Notably, beating the hell out of Jalen Hurts and his Channel View squad 71-21, scoring 5 TDs in one half. Yo, he could play, but even that wasn't enough to convince folks that he could play quarterback at the next level. He had committed to TCU to play for Gary Patterson, where he projected as a slot receiver, kick returner, and a wildcat quarterback. But he shocked folks when he decommitted, flipped his commitment to Houston, where he was going to play quarterback. And I always say that if you think you're a quarterback, go play quarterback, unless you can't play quarterback. In many cases, you can't play quarterback. D'Eriq King chose to take on that, and he's done more than play a little quarterback, man. So, the next thing that goes along with this is he was legitimately awesome last season in 2018 in just 10 and a half games, all right? So, to set all this up, the thing you need to know is D'Eriq King played 10 and a half games, scored 50 touchdowns during those 10 and a half games. Only 2 other players scored 50 touchdowns last year. One of them won the Heisman Trophy and went number 1 overall in the draft, Kyler Murray. The other one, Dwayne Haskins, quarterbacked the Ohio State Buckeyes to a Rose Bowl victory and was also drafted in the first round of last year's NFL draft. That is the company that D'Eriq King keeps. He had over 3,600 yards total at the quarterback position. And that leads me to this really interesting note. If he played in 14 games like Kyler Murray did, he's projected to have gone for 5,300 yards with 54 touchdowns. Just monster numbers. And all you got to do is go watch his film to understand what kind of a unique talent he is. You give him the ball and you watch what he does with it. If you can get guys out in routes, he is going to be hellacious. Now, with Major Applewhite calling the plays, he was pretty doggone good. With Daniel Holgerson, he figures to be a next-level fringe Heisman candidate. If you wanted to make him your dark horse Heisman candidate, like people did a couple years ago with Khalil Tate, I wouldn't hate you for it. He's got that kind of energy and that kind of moxie. You can also understand why folks were not really interested in recruiting him at quarterback because of his size. 5'9", 170 pounds says receiver, says corner to a lot of folks. Don't make a Mac Brown deal with a guy that played quarterback in high school. We know that Mac was fond of recruiting high school quarterbacks to play DB. It didn't really go well for him because those guys ended up being Robert Griffin III, won a Heisman Trophy, and Johnny Manziel won a Heisman Trophy. Also, first-round draft pick. So they got paid even if they didn't pan out in the NFL, which leads me to this note, which I found particularly interesting. And shout out to my man, Blinken Riley, who found this one. The guy playing behind D'Eriq King at Manvel is a fellow by the name of Kyle Trask. Who's Kyle Trask? He's the backup quarterback at Florida, which means that he got a high major offer to go play at an SEC power behind Felipe Franks, who, by the way, ain't looked that good against Miami, while D'Eriq King was the starting quarterback. Had the size, had the ability, but we understand that sometimes it's not about how you look. It's not about your measurables. It's about, can you go out there and play football? And that's the reason I love the sport. It does not care if you are particularly short, if you're particularly small in the modern age of football. It matters less than it ever has in the history of the sport. A number 1 overall pick was a 5'9", 200-pound quarterback. 5'10" and a half, depending on who you want to talk to. You talk to me, it's 5'10" and a half. I say don't short the man. He's 5'10", okay? He's taller or as tall as Russell Wilson. However you want to draw it up for Kyler Murray, he was short by quarterback standards, and it doesn't matter. That's the thing. It doesn't matter because he played in front of a line that projected to the NFL. 4 of those guys were drafted. The 5th one will be drafted. They were all tall. He quarterbacked one of the most prolific offenses in the history of the sport. D'Eriq King is on that level of talent. And when he comes to Oklahoma, you're going to get to see a lot of that. How much Oklahoma can keep him under wraps remains to be seen, especially returning the bulk of the personnel that it played with last year, even with a new coordinator, even with a new scheme. I expect D'Eriq King to have his way. If Oklahoma keeps him under 300 and 100, it's a good day. If you keep the dude around 250 and 75, it's still a good day. If he goes for 5 TDs on you, that's the kind of player that he is. He will set the American on fire this year, especially since there's no Mackenzie Milton to really compete with him from a returner standpoint as the best quarterback in that league. We'll see what, if anything, Zach Smith can do up against Michigan State. He's still my pick to be the starter for the University of Tulsa. We'll see what happens around the rest of the American. But right now, it's D'Eriq King. If you're looking for anybody outside of the Power 5 to go, hey man, that dude is going to earn an opportunity to just sit there in the front row at the Heisman ceremony. Let's have fun watching this kid play. All right, that's it for me. Doses.